Peace, family. It's 19 Keys. We tapping in. Today is going to be a very special, good, powerful, electrifying day. I wanted to have this live stream, particularly to prepare us for what is to come. And you can never have too many metrics on what you go by to be prepared for the future, right? As a high level observer, I always say, control what you see, don't be controlled by what you see, right? It's kind of like judging somebody for what they look like versus who they are, right? You're not going to know who somebody is by looking at them. And that's how it is the way we view society today. We view it in a very shallow way. We see things as the news tell us, whatever truth that they want to give us. But we're not peeling behind the scenes and understanding how to observe the meaning of things for what they really are, right? So today I have someone who helps people observe reality for what it is, right? Not what they've been told to see, not what mainstream media controls narratives of. And this gives you the power to put reality in your hands. This is somebody who is world renowned, right? And has been doing his craft at a masterful level for decades now. And that's important to say because there are a lot of newcomers in this age of information, if you will. But it's not information that is the most valuable anymore. Today, we need perspective, and we need perspective from people who can give it to us at a high level. And most people can't give us anything at a high level because they don't have the perspective that we need. We get information everywhere to where everybody has access to it, but your equal understanding of it is the difference. While one man sees an opportunity, another man sees a fear. Why is that? Because they're not perceiving the same thing from the same level of consciousness. So once you understand that, you understand that we're going in the age of perspective. People are going to be seeking out wise counsel more and more because they realize it wasn't the information that was holding them back. It was their ability to interpret the meaning of that information so that they can use it in a meaningful way to where it actually matters. So I want to be bringing in my brother, Lloyd Strayhorn, who I've had on this platform before, right? And we're going to be breaking down 2025, which is the year of the nine by the numbers. And I have some things to say on this particular subject as well. And you give me a second as I'm pacing myself with this damn camera. Then I will get started in just a moment. And by the way, if any of you all know your birthdays, your master numbers, if you will, or just putting your birthdays in a chart, and we will be picking a few people as well to give you a reading on your numbers. And we're going to tell you how to find those numbers and what they mean as well in just a second. Okay. Boom, boom. Let's move this over here. Let's move this over here. And let's get started here. All right, give me 1 second, Lloyd. I'm going to bring you up. All right, I think the people can see you now.
Okay.
Then I'm going to bring me back in. How are you today?
I am doing fine. Blessings to all that are in the house. Blessings to you and the family, 19 Keys. And it's going to be a very interesting year. That's all I can say. A very exciting year that I'll explain. And then, by the way, what I'll do is I'll tell you what's in store for each of the zodiac signs and also the dates of birth. So those who can get through, fine. But if not, we'll be able to cover all the bases from this presentation this evening.
Okay, magnificent. Let me. Okay, excellent. Got you. Let me bring this back in. I feel like some reason this thing keep putting a blank screen over it while I'm trying to participate and look at the audience. How was your 2024? We're gonna start off. I'm gonna pull myself in here. And I first want to go into 2024 and what that was, and then I want to go into 2025 on what that will be.
Gotcha.
All right, until I figure that out. Here we go. Hey. All right. Technology, man.
No, I know. I do the same thing, 19. I do the same thing.
It messed up in the last minute. Start doing extra stuff.
I go through the same thing, my friend. But anyway, bless you, bless you. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, sir. Thank you for being
We're
here.
going to have a very dynamic interview this evening because everything we do are numbers. But to answer your initial question, the year we're wrapping up, 2024, is the year of the 8. What do I mean? Well, what I did was I add 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 4. That's an 8. In numerology, that's referred to as an 8 universal year. The word universal means just that. Everybody's included. I don't care what your sign is, what your birth number is, what your age, what your gender, what your ethnicity, what your economics. Everybody goes through an 8 personal year. Now, 8 normally is associated with things symbolically like money, power, authority, achievement, recognition. And because 8 is somewhat challenging to the United States, this may explain why things are so high. Uh, Food is high, rent, mortgage is high, car insurance is high, cars are high. Almost everything is high except a man's salary. And so there, and if you think about it, so people don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure out why is everything going up except my salary, because how can one keep up with rising costs on all those things? But 8 also deals with our ancestors. It also makes us do a lot of growing up. Those under the signs of Capricorn, Aquarians, and Librans may have gotten to the head of the class, or anybody born on the 8th, the 17th, or the 26th of the month. However, moving forward into the year 2025, this is the year of the 9. What do I mean? Well, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 equals 9. Now, 9 is the humanitarian number as a rule. It represents people who are global, universal, international, motivational, inspirational. 9 is also governed by the planet of Mars, which is the war planet. And see what people don't realize, the year coming up of 2025 actually started around late September, October. That's when the wars increased with Ukraine and Russia, the wars in the Middle East. So all these things are taking place. And so to the negative, this is a warlike kind of year coming up. And what it simply means, since 9 rules: wars, knives, guns, explosions, confrontations, arguments. It's in people's best interest to weigh the consequences of their actions. So for example, you two guys trying to get one parking space, one gets to get all excited, pull out, draw a firearm, shoot the person, so that person may go to the hospital or become unalive, as the term is used. And then the person that got the parking space, so guess who don't get the parking space? Guess who don't go home that evening? So it's really, really a matter of decisions we make. So don't let people pull you into any kind of arguments or confrontations, but to kind of be at peace, to take the higher side to the 9, to be the humanitarian. So if there's a fender bender on the highway, you get out, listen, is everybody okay? The insurance is going to take care of the rest. That's why we got car insurance, okay? But to get into confrontations and arguments where one may not go home that evening to their family, and then the person that's in jail behind it, the question is it worth it? It would be, pardon my French, hell to the no, you know? So these are the things that are important. But what we should do is inspire each other, motivate each other, encourage each other to do things. The signs that are likely to do well this particular year, in particular for 2025, are Aries, Scorpions, also those under the signs of Leo, and especially those born on the 9th, the 18th, or the 27th of the month. It means be very, very mindful about what you do. It is also the cycle of completion. So you know how you have things holding on for the longest. So if you need to get rid of something, terminate something, this is the time to do it. It is also a cycle to manifest what you want. You know how sometimes we're so busy, 19 keys, that we put things on hold, right?
Hmm.
And so what happens this year says we bring those things that we put on hold front and center. So that's the manifestation part. But most people always think of nine as completion, so ending, which is true, but it is also dreams fulfilled. It is also a cycle indicating long distance trip, traveling from here to there, New York to California, or somewhere out the country, whatever the case is, because it is international, it is global, it is universal, but more importantly, it is humanitarian. So these wars we're getting into is the negative. And I explained about 2 years before that the period of 2024 and 2025 will be very challenging to this country because eights and nines are two of the opposition numbers to the United States. And that's how I see it. But at any rate, we all have what is called a personal year. How do I determine that? That's very simple. What I do is I take the person's month and date of birth and add to it the year in question. So here if you see, I got, let's see. Yeah, there we go. So if you see it, it's September, May the 4th, and I added inside of the year 2025. That adds up to a nine. Well, here's what's interesting about this particular birthday. Not only is it a nine universal year, this particular person is also in a nine personal year. So that means that this birthday is always in harmony with the lockstep of the universe. So let's say if we took another person, May the 11th, okay? So this person, if you add the month and day and then the year you want to know about, they happen to be in a seven personal year. So they're going to be going into a year where they're going to be doing a lot of soul searching. They're going to be looking for answers. They're going to be going down the rabbit hole of life. And it also governs the law of attraction, that whatever they think will be drawn to them. So let's say in theory, this person's walking around saying, I don't have any money. I don't have any money. The source will make sure they don't have a penny. But if they think in terms of abundance, as many times in your discussions you talk about the power of the mind and what we think. Well, in a person in a seventh cycle will definitely find it would be to their best interest to monitor their thinking, think very carefully, think prosperity, think success, think about all the things that they wish to make come true. And so what I can do is I will take all the zodiac signs and the dates of birth so we don't miss anybody, if that's okay with you.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
miss
yeah, yeah, for
all right.
sure.
So what I do is I did this. Now in astrology, people look at their sun sign. So for example, you are a Taurus.
Yes, sir.
However, somebody's moon, which means the way they think, may be in the sign of Taurus, or their ascendant or rising sign, which simply means visually the way they appear to people, could be in the sign of Taurus. So I've touched all the bases because some people say, well, I read my ascendant. Some says I read my moon. Some says I read my sun sign, of course. So I'm going to touch all the bases, including the numbers. So we'll start with Aries. If your sun, moon, or ascendant is in the sign of Aries, or if you're born on the 9th, the 18th, or the 27th. So we're encompassing everything. The theme for all Aries and people born on a 9 date this year is about completion, to wrap things up, to put things aside that is no longer to their benefit. Toxic thoughts, toxic people, unproductive situations, and begin to let that go. They will find that if they focus on that, they will put themselves in a better position to make their fondest dreams come true, whatever those dreams may be. They're all individually pursued. Some may want better life in terms of their career or relationship or finances or health or whatever the case is, but they will find it to their advantage. That's for sure. They'll find that money wise, the money months for Aries this particular year will be in January, May, June, August, and the month of October more than any other time. As for relationships, they will find that the months of February and June, August, and November being equally as important in terms of matters of love or relationships or things of that nature. Now, as for travel, they will find that the months of January, May, July, followed by September and October would be the best time for them to do some traveling if that is the case. As matters of health, April followed by June and September would be more challenging. And don't forget, with nines, they don't get sick. They are more subject to injuries, accidents. So therefore, I always advise Aries and Scorpios, in that case, the number nine people, to be very careful if they're handling firearm or knives or sharp instruments and things like that. To be very, very careful because it's more of an accident prone type of situation. For the Tauruses in the audience, if their sun, moon, or ascendant is in the sign of Taurus, or if they're born on a date that adds up to the 6th, the 15th, the 24th, the theme for them this year is about family. What do I mean? To handle your responsibilities, to walk the walk as you talk the talk. You know, there's this saying, as we all know, talk is cheap. Well, with Tauruses, this would be a good time for them to follow through. A lot of Tauruses are going to be going back to school. A lot of Tauruses are going to be elevating themselves. They're going to be a work in progress, so to speak, always improving. Their best thing for them to do is handle all their duties, responsibilities, and obligations. They're also going to be making adjustments. And here's the interesting thing about Taurus is the number 6 this year, too. Let's say you entered into an agreement, but the party or parties concerned didn't hold up their end of the bargain.
Mm-hmm.
The law of compensation is going to kick in and make up for it.
Come
Okay.
on, need
So
that.
that's what they can look for sure. As far as money matters are concerned, they can expect February, April, August, September, and November to be the primary financial months. And when I say these months, if for a Taurus example, in February, they might get a raise or promotion or a bonus, or they may step out on faith. But these will be the financial months for all Tauruses, again, being February, April, August, September, and November. As far as relationships are concerned, February is definitely a key. May, September, as well as November would be the relationship months. So let's say a person wants to travel. Well, they will find that the months of January and March, April, August, and October will be prime time for them. And matters of health, just be a little bit mindful. Go for routine checkup or whatever the case is on during the months of March and July, followed by September and the month of December. So now what happens if a person is born, if their sun, moon, or ascendant is in the sign of Gemini, or if they're born on the 5th, the 14th, or the 23rd of the month? Well, for them, the the cycle or the theme for them is about dramatic changes, change for the better. For Gemini's and number 5 people for 2025, it's like going down the highway, you come off the exit, and when you come off the exit and come to the stop sign or the traffic light, normally there's signs going in different directions. So for some Gemini's and number 5, should they go left? Should they go right? Should they keep forward or should they go back? But this is going to be a year for them to take advantage of any and all opportunities that come their way. I tell people in a relationship with Geminis and fives coming up for 2025, the secret to holding on to them, believe it or not, is to let them go. At first, it's cute, like, honey, where you going? Why you going there? When you coming back? But believe me, if you do that often, they're going to go out, as they used to say, the elders say, go out for a pack of cigarettes and never come back home. Okay, that's what the elders used to do. They just disappear. So as far as the career aspects for Geminis, they can expect March and May, September, and October, along with December, to be the primary months where they make their moves financially, economically, whatever the case may be. As far as relationships, January kicks off the year doing that, followed by March, June, October, and December as well. And since Geminis love to travel, they've got 5 travel months in store, which is in February, April, May, followed by September and November. Health wise, since 5 rules the nerves and things of that nature, just be a little mindful opening up the months of January, followed by April, August, and the month of October. So let's say your sun, moon, or ascendant is in the sign of Cancer, or if you're born on the 2nd or the 7th, the 11th or the 16th, the 20th, the 25th, or the 29th of the month. The theme for all Cancers and people born under those dates is about relationships. Now, oftentimes, 19,
Mm-hmm.
People think it means boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, but it means relationships on all levels. When we're born, we have our first relationship with our mom, then our dads, then brothers and sisters, then nieces, nephews, cousins, uncles, grandparents, then childhood friends in elementary, high school, college, then boyfriend, girlfriend, then bosses. So we're always in a world of relationships, but people think relationship means just boyfriend, girlfriend, but I'm talking about relationships on all levels. And it simply means to form bonds where possible, to make sure that you're in lockstep, especially with people heading in the same way with you. It's nice to be in a relationship, but are they on the same page with you? Are they heading in the same direction with you? Especially if you have a Cancer that's got goals and dreams and aspirations. You don't deal with another person that's going in the opposite way in that sense, because it makes for not the best relationship in the world. But financially, they will find that the months of March and April, followed by June, August, and December, are going to be very beneficial for them as a rule. And as far as relationships are concerned, well, April, June, and September should be exactly what they are looking for. But because there's a need to travel, they'll find that the months of March and May, July, August, and December will be ideal for them to make moves, long trips, short trips, going someplace where there's the sand, the sea, and the sun. And finally, health matters. It means February and April, followed by August and November. And when I say that, it's not bad in that sense. It just means this is when you just go get a general checkup or whatever the case is. What about Leos? Well, if your sun or your moon or your ascendant is in the sign of Leo, or you're born on the 1st or the 4th, the 10th or the 13th, the 19th, 22nd, 28th, or 31st of the month, the theme for all Leos this month is about independence. Ain't don't nobody like to be independent more than a Leo, trust me. And so this will allow them to stand on their own. And here's the irony for all Leos are number one or four persons on those dates. Let's say there happen to be 19 keys in a codependent relationship with somebody. Well,
Mm-hmm.
this particular year says that if they are, circumstances will force them to stand on their own. Okay, whereby they're going to have to figure out that everybody, as much as they like to help, they got to learn how to help themselves first before they help anybody else. But it's going to allow them to express their individuality, to be more inventive and pioneering and visionary in their actions and deeds and things of that nature. So it's going to be a very productive time for them. Money wise, the months of April and May, July and September are the months that should fit the bill to their satisfaction. As far as relationships, January, May, July, and October will be equally as rewarding for them on a personal level, too. And in matters of health, they can expect April and June to kind of be a little iffy or up in the air, followed by August and September. But for health concerns, they will find more the months of March and May, August and December, because December is normally an opposition period to Gemini anyway, where they're likely to be at their lowest points. Now, what about a Virgo? If your sun, moon, or ascendant is in the sign of Virgo, or if you're born on the 5th, the 14th, the 23rd of the month, that simply means the theme for you this year is about public activities. That means to normally Virgos are kind of reserved. They normally like to stay at home. There are some exceptions, but for the most part, Virgos like to analyze, and therefore they like to analyze from the inside looking outside. But for all Virgos, they need to increase their outgoing activities, to go out, to mix and mingle with the crowd, to go to social events and things like that, to take advantage of any and all opportunities that come their way, because that's what's going to be happening for them this year. There are going to be some major and important changes that come along too if they're out and about. For example, opportunities don't know you in your house. Opportunities don't come and knock on your door. You got to go out there and beat the bushes. And that's the kind of year that Virgos will experience for those that are not afraid to kind of like go out of their comfort zone and begin to expand their world. They will find that money wise, the months of March and May, followed by September, October, and December will be their financial blessings if they know how to take advantage of it. Relationship wise, although Virgos are very selective and discriminating, they'll find that January and March and June, followed by October and December, equally as important as developing relationships, whether it's about a makeup or about a breakup, all depending on how things are. And let's say you're about to travel. Well, you'll find that February, they'll find that April is going to be very important, especially where they go somewhere where there's the sand, the sea, and the sun. They're going to find May equally as important, as well as September and the month of November. Health wise, since Virgo is the health sign anyway, they should attend to their health concerns or general checkup at the very beginning of the year of January, followed by April, followed by August, followed by the month of October. All righty. So, what about Librans? All right. For Librans, if your sun, moon, or ascendant is in the sign of Libra, or if you're born on the 6th, the 15th, or the 24th of the month, the theme for you is about duty and responsibility. You know, Libra is one of the signs of beauty. They like nice things, they like nice clothes, they like nice food and whatnot, but they also have to handle their responsibilities if given to them. So, for all Librans, the rule of thumb this year is don't say something that you can't keep. Don't promise somebody. Don't commit yourself and just say, well, I've changed my mind. I don't feel like it. Follow through, because the theme for you this particular year is about handling your responsibilities and being dutiful, and when asked to do something. They will find that financially the months of February, followed by April, August, September, and November being the most important time for them to make their financial moves or ask for that raise or that well-deserved promotion, or maybe step out on faith. Who knows? As far as relationships are concerned, they'll find that February, May, September, and November will be the more ideal months for making up, breaking up, or whatever they feel. But it's a good time to really mend fences if possible, where possible, depending on the circumstances that led to it. As far as travel is concerned, you can expect that in January, March, April, followed by August and October, and the month of December. So actually, with Libyans, they have 6 months this year, half the year, 50% will allow them some type of travel. Now, if they don't physically travel, you mentally. You know how sometimes you bored at a job and your mind is everywhere else except in that building? Well,
Yeah.
don't forget, people travel mentally too.
There's
See,
been a lot of conversations around astral traveling and projection and being able to go places. It's funny because we're entering into a very quantum world.
yep, yep.
CIA released a report today, I believe, about how in the 1970s or 80s, when they had a certain program that they had people traveling to Mars. I mean, not physically, of course, but mentally. And then
Mm-hmm.
we having all these conversations around orbs in the sky, which are more so mental ways to travel in these spheres of time. At least that's the way I heard it break down by Mother Tanetta before, who was one of the chief decoders of the number 19. You know what I mean? So upon my journey of the number and things of that nature, it would be understanding the significance of observing the number, right? The same
Mm-hmm.
way that we read in the alphabet, we understand that language, but numbers are symbols. So those symbols guide us into synchronicity, but symbols also represent frequencies, right?
Yes,
Because a
they are.
number is
Yes,
a
they
count
are.
of frequency, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before you can speak a language of another man, y'all speak numbers, right? How many? One, two. That is emotion. That is a frequency. One, two, three. That is another frequency. And those frequencies can be paired to music. That music creates certain frequencies. If you can't enunciate or speak certain frequencies, there are certain worlds that you just blocked off to in life, right?
That
The
is true.
ability
Very
to
true.
enunciate the frequency yes or no, right? To you, if you speak in most languages, no is no, regardless.
Right, exactly. That's
That's
universal. No.
it's a no, right? It is a certain sound pairing, right? But
Yeah, yeah.
to give people just that in the lamest terms, as we kind of look at numerology, and to me, in the most practical way, is the observation of frequencies, right, and patterns. And the whole entire universe is ran off frequencies and patterns, right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and then it's the understanding of what that frequency and pattern means. Then that is going into ology, right? In Greek, meaning the knowledge of. So,
Um,
as we talk about
so,
numerology, the
yep.
knowledge of numbers goes into the knowledge of understanding the universal frequencies, which is the patterns that we see all around us. And so
Mm-hmm.
two men can speak different languages, but they can both speak the mathematical language of numbers. because I can describe an atom by a mathematical data and you would understand that. I
Yeah.
can describe the distance between one planet and another and you would understand that. I can describe mathematically the composition of frequencies that make up a music, right? And I would never have to speak your language, but you would understand that.
Standard.
So
Exactly.
it's the same thing when we talk in the language of the universe, it's mathematical. So man may speak multiple languages all across the world, but mathematical language is one that is universal, the same way music is universal as far as the way it unifies us and the way that we feel and how we emote from that as well. And the universe does not respond to your goals, it responds to your frequency. So understanding the number that matches the frequency, right, is how you get to have a higher level of observation. This is why the elites understand this. They put and do certain things by the numbers. They do everything by the numbers.
Yeah.
Nothing is emotional. Everything is by the numbers. So when you understand the practical application of that, then you start to observe at a higher level and stop allowing them to put the words in front of you and understand the numbers behind it. That's when you have the golden key to the universe.
Well, that's not only true because, and in fact, what happens is when I met Minister Louis Farrakhan on several occasions, he says, what I do is called supreme mathematics, and that the
Yes, sir.
universal language is mathematics. And in fact, if you look at the music that is now coming out of our radios in our communities, the degree of the frequency is 44 degrees, which is a very destructive frequency. Okay, where the degree of 1150 is the number of healing, things of that nature. So each of these frequencies, and people don't understand it. So when they see this show, when they see a TV series or hear a radio show, frequencies are going out into the air that allows them to tune in to hear it. So there's a whole lot, but because you can't taste it, you can't feel it, you
Right.
can't see it, don't mean it don't exist. So
Yeah.
the thing about the possible astral travel and whatnot means a lot. But so I don't leave Libra out with their health. They'll find that March and July, followed by September and December, will be important. And it's very important. So I'm halfway through the sign, so it shouldn't take me too long to. I'm just going to wrap up the other Scorpios and Capricorns and Aquarians and Pisces, and then we continue. But for Scorpios, this particular year, for them is about endings, conclusions, to let bygones be bygones, to let there be water under the bridge. That, okay, this is how it is. You put it to the side and you keep moving forward and not moving back. Sometimes this is difficult because Scorpio is a water sign. So they could be into what is called their feelings, their emotions. But this year, they're going to have to learn how to, whatever the feeling or emotion is, to learn how to step away and detach or become stoic, as they say, in terms of how they do things. They'll find that the months financially, that January is going to open up with strong possibilities, as well as the month of May and June, April and October. As far as relationships are concerned, which is very important, they're going to find that February, June, August, and November, the months equally so for starting one, breaking up one, whatever the case may be. And if you look at it in terms of travel, January is going to be very possible, especially long distance trips in places new. May and July, also followed by September and October. Health wise, they're going to have to be a little mindful around April, May, and the month of September in and of itself. So we get into Sagittarius. All right. Now, anybody, if your sun, moon, or ascendant is in the sign of Sagittarius, or if you're born on the 3rd, the 12th, the 21st, or the 30th of the month, this year, the theme for all Sagittarians and number 3 persons is about expansion because it is governed by the planet of Jupiter, the good luck planet, the planet of expansion, the things where things begin to open up and blossom for them. When Jupiter is entering any cycle in a person's chart, it gives them a time to see the fruits of their labor. That no matter how much they worked on it, no matter how much they structured it, will give them a chance to really explore all the possibilities of their potentials if they do that. They'll find that financially, February and March is going to open up very well for them, followed by the month of May, July, November, and December. So financially, Sagittarians are going to have 6 months of possibilities to increase their financial standings, their job potentials, their career possibilities, or even step it on faith, depending, especially in the month of July. As far as relationships are concerned, that's in March and May, followed by August and December as well. Now, as far as travel is concerned, and Sagittarians love to go to foreign countries, they deal with foreigners, foreign languages, they will find that the months of February, April, followed by June and July and November, their best possibilities. And then for health concerns, and you know, when I say it's not bad, it's just staying on top of things. If you're in the funk, check it out. The beauty of women, if you notice 19 keys, the slightest things that happen to women, they go to a doctor like ASAP. We guys, we wait, and then we want to call on the high heavens to come and save us. Okay. So
Well,
what I'm saying
not
with
to cut your wisdom, though, part of the reason that is because women are more connected to cycles, of course. So
definitely.
women are forced to be more in tune with their body than men because every single month, right, they bleed, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they have to, and then when they bleed, they get to literally see their blood, right? And by that, they're judging themselves, right? But what's going on inside them because there is a discharge, if you will, there is a flow to it. So even
hmm
though men go through cycles, these cycles are more chemical, right? We don't get to see a physical representation of that, right? As if we urinated and our pee changed a different color, then we'd be like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, what's going
Yeah.
on?
Yeah.
But they're connected to the metatonic cycle of the moon. So therefore, they operate in a rhythm of 13 every single year, right? Even though man's world operates in a 12. So
Yeah.
they're more in tune, right, with their biological clock than men are, unless something physical happens or an ailment. And then we go when it's too late, but they're constantly staying in alignment.
Yeah. Because the mate will ask us, honey, how we doing? We say, fine. You know, in good well, we not fine, but those things make sense. But health wise, they're going to find that for Sagittarians, that the month of April, January, followed by March, followed by the month of October and December are going to be the health months of their concerns. So, what about Capricorns? If your sun, moon, or ascendant is in the sign of Capricorn, or if you're born on the 8th, the 17th, or the 26th of the month, the theme for this sign and people under these dates is the business of business. Capricorn is the business sign anyway. All the historians are coming under the signs because 8 rules ancestry. Capricorn rules ancestry because it's governed by the planet of Saturn. So if all the Capricorns are entering with this kind of business-minded mindset, I'm going to handle my business, I'm going to take care of business, however they want to put it, that is going to be the theme for them this particular year. The Capricorns are number 8 people are going to be doing a lot of growing up. Not that they're not adults already, but they grow up philosophically. They grow up through life's experiences. They begin to see what part they've been playing on life stage in that sense. You know what I'm saying? 19 keys.
Right.
They will find that financially that the months of February followed by June and July, September and November are going to be the best times for them. As far as relationships are concerned, normally they're kind of picky. And normally with Capricorns and number 8s, they feel more comfortable with relationships that are slightly older than they are. Where because 8 is a very mature energy, Capricorns are very mature energy as well as the planet of Saturn. And so relationship wise, they're going to find that the months of March, followed by July, followed by September and December more important. So, like Virgos, Capricorns kind of like to stay close to home, but this year offers them, in fact, they've got 6 months of travel opportunities, beginning in their birthday month of January, followed by February, followed by June, followed by August, October, and November will be the best time for them to make their moves. And as far as their health is concerned, January, May, July, especially because that's the opposition sign of the year, followed by October would be the months in which they need to be on point about that. And it's so interesting because the signs that tend to be misdiagnosed more than any others are Capricorns and Aquarius. And so, speaking of that, if your sun or moon or ascendant is in the sign of Aquarius, or if you're born on the 4th or the 13th or the 22nd or the 31st of the month, the theme this year for all occurring is to be structured, to have a sense of order, a
Mm,
sense of purpose, a
mm.
blueprint, so to
Talk
speak.
to 'em.
Just don't go out there on the fly. This is not going to work this year. And 4s and Aquarius can be very spontaneous. That's why 4 and the sign of Aquarius are called secret enemies because they're very unconventional in their approach. This is why, and the secret enemy is because people are either jealous of them, envious of them, or insecure with them. So I thought it was interesting one day when I was watching you do a live on one of the platforms where you talk about how the churches don't respond to you. But I'm
Mm,
kind of not surprised because you're not conventional, my brother.
right,
You're
right.
kind of visionary.
Yeah, I come to chop things up. Come to make some change.
Exactly. So, but there are money opportunities, a very, very potential for number fours and Jim and Aquarius, which is in the months of January and February, followed by April and June, followed by October and the month of November. 6 financial months indicates. So people going on tours or traveling events or things like they wish to promote, this will be the ideal months for them to do so. As far as relationships, and we tend to be, and I say we because I'm an Aquarius, um, relationship we tend to have odd and unusual relationships at times, but February followed by April followed by July followed by the month of November will be our ideal months for relationships. As far as travel is concerned, well, January, March followed by May, June, October, and December. So not only will they have 6 months as it relates to monies, but 6 months as it relates to travel as well. And finally, for the health, because we'll find that the month of February, the birthday month of a number fours and Aquarians, or May, September, and November being the more interesting months. But number eights and number fours, right next to Capricorn and Aquarians, they are the two signs, and those are the numbers that tend to be misdiagnosed. But interesting, the key to the health is right here in the mind. In the mind, it's just that simple. And so, for those that get depressed, especially Capricorns, Aquarians, or eights and fours, stop watching TV
Talk
because
to
by the time you hear everything on TV, and then they got all the drug commercials in between there, man, you go try to find something to get sick over. Okay, so what I'm saying is to kind of just back off, and especially if it's something sudden, unusual, like a sudden breakup, a sudden loss, a certain termination on your job could throw them off center if they're not prepared. And finally, for Pisces, if your sun, moon, or ascendant is in the sign of Pisces, or again, if they're born on the 3rd, the 12th, the 21st, or the 30th of the month, the theme for you this particular year for 2025 is about imagination. Now, Pisces is ruled by the newer planet called Neptune, which deals with emotions, illusions, and delusions, and things like that. In fact, Hollywood is ruled by the planet of Neptune. And so, as you see, they make movies of all kinds of things, and it's all illusionary. So, all these TV shows, all that is Neptunian. But the fact of putting your imagination to best use, to not just imagine the worst, but imagine the best. Being creative, expressive, expansive, imaginative, being able to articulate your feelings and putting them down, to add a sense of humor to the way you do things, but not get caught up in imaginings that are more negative, imagining that's more positive. There was a saying I heard that it's the fact of one thing can be something, but your imagination could be the worst, and that may not be the fact. So they have to keep not get too far out with their over imagining the worst. A lot of times when people are not feeling well, if they're really sick, they're imagine, well, oh man, I must really have something, when it's really no big deal. They just got to get in there and see what's going on. But
hmm
the imagination will play a very important part. As far as monies are concerned, Pisces are going to open up with the months of February and March, their birthday month, followed by May and July being the best months for them, as well as the month of November as well. As far as relationships are concerned, they're going to find that the months of March, their birthday month, May, August, and December being equally beneficial to them as well. And as far as health checkups, if you feel the need to go get an annual, go get a regular checkup, they'll find that January, March, June, followed by October and December are the best times to do it. So that way we cover all the signs, all the numbers, and we can cover those that's in the room if you want in the chat room. It'll be my pleasure.
First of all, thank you. Definitely. It's funny because you could easily replace astrological signs with numbers.
Yeah, because they're all correlated. As you said,
Right.
everything is related.
So as you think about your number, right? You think about your sign. It's really um, saying things. There's multiple language to say, right? The same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
People go
Mm-hmm.
by astrology of, oh, I'm a Taurus, or somebody goes and I was born, right, in the time of spring, right? The time of renewal. Or I was born in the 5th month of the calendar year based on the Julius calendar, or are you born based on the Ethiopian calendar, right? It's all these ways of interpreting and understanding, because it does matter when you were born. Even if we go a little deeper as far as the solar cycle that you were born in, right? We're going into solar cycle 25. And solar cycle 25, even though it's the year 2025, it's basically graded by 11-year periods. So sometimes you can be born on a peak cycle, or you can be born in a minimal cycle, meaning that the sun disperses less solar flares around the time that you're born, or more. Now,
Yeah.
that can have an effect to where people who were born in high solar activity are sometimes more highly intuitive, have more clairvoyant skills, and things of that nature. So there's all of these metrics in which a person can view their reality to understand it by different dimensions, right? I want to ask you, going into 2025, it's definitely going to be a year of conflict, because we have a new world emerging. And as a new world emerging, is essentially if you were to look at two planets colliding. And when you imagine two planets colliding, you see the friction of them coming together. But you imagine that essentially once the merge is complete, a new world appears. So there cannot be a new world, right? Whether you are at the master or you are enslaved in it, that is up to you. But the new world is coming regardless, which is why we're going to see an increase in conflicts, right? When we talk about the 9 mind, the 9 represents something to be revealed, right? That 9 represents birth, right? It represents the end of the cycle, but every end of a cycle is the beginning of a new cycle, right? So as we're transitioning in a world where we're going from a land logic to where people should have been grounded, right? And we're grounded in the logic of the world because we're separated by land, we're connected by waters. The waters allow us to flow. That's why we're going into new currencies, which means that our currencies are now fulfilling into new directions. That means that the world is shifting and changing. So if you look at it, even if you go from alphabetical, if you look at land, right, starts with an L, which is basically going into logic, a angle. But water is a W, just like the internet, www. Once we went into the digital age, we went into the age where things flow because we're not restricted by land, right? When man built ships, he was able to flow on water. That was transportation of communication, goods, people, services that connected the world. Then when we created the World Wide Web, and most people think of the internet, they think up, but the internet is actually connected by cords in the ocean, right? That allow us to be connected.
Yeah, they got cables running about the bottom of the ocean. Yeah.
And then Meta just created a even bigger cable, and it looks like a W, right? Literally. So we're literally going, and that W goes from land being logic because we live in a water world, but we think about it as a land world, right? But there's more water. There's 70% water. There's like 30% land on this planet Earth, right? It's 149,940,000 square miles in total, right? And if you combine the lakes and the oceans and the rivers versus the land, right?
There's far more water than land.
Far more. But we are looking at it from a land angle, right? So we're sort of like the ant that's just looking here, but we're not studying the other dimensions. So man travels through land and air more through any other mediums, through plane and through vehicle, or through horses as it used to be in carriages. We, even though we do travel through ships, we ship more goods than we ship people. So we never get a deep water perspective, which means we don't deep dive, right? And because we don't deep dive, we stay shallow at ground level. So most people are only connected at a shallow land level. But when we start flowing and as the world shifts, we have to be more fluid, right? Meaning that if the world is constantly changing, then you have to have the ability to flow with it. Technology, cultural, social changes, language changes, right? Your ability to be able to consistently move and not get cyclosclerosis to where you have a rigid thinking and an inability to continue to grow and develop new ways of understanding and thinking. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck in 2025 because it's going to be a future shock. And this future shock is going to have you fearful of change. And what does fear do? right? It takes a
Yeah.
hold of the nervous system and it puts you into freeze or flight. So you're
Yeah.
running away or you're not doing anything. So
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
make sure that your mind stays in a fluid state. So observing from a high level, which is like what Lloyd is giving you, a high level introspective and perspective of the world allows you to see ahead so you're not stuck. Now, as we talk about currencies, right? Bitcoin, it was born January 9th, 2009. I would love for you to give me a reading on Bitcoin going into the ninth year.
Bitcoin is an earth sign with a fire number.
Mm,
It's under the sign of Capricorn, which is earth, which means it's steadfast. It is a cardinal sign. Cardinal sign means a sign that represents a major change in the seasons. So Capricorn, which is governed by Saturn, represents the winter side of life. And so most of the people who've achieved great things are normally under the sign of Capricorn, under the cardinal signs, so either winter, spring, summer, fall. But then it's born on the ninth day of the month. And so this would explain since September and October, just before the elections of Trump, how things have been escalating now and how the numbers are just growing fast and furious for crypto because we're entering a year of the nine.
mm,
Okay. And crypto is born on the ninth day of the month. So therefore one can look at to take advantage of cryptocurrency investments. The numbers that follow that birthday of cryptocurrency is the 9, the 8, and the 6 in that order, which means the best days to invest in cryptocurrency is always on a Tuesday first, a Saturday, or a Friday in that order. You will probably find it as they grow in terms of upshooting the numbers of cryptocurrency that it'll probably take place on a Tuesday, followed by a Saturday, followed by a Friday. Not only that, but then there are certain months that are very important to cryptocurrencies too, especially in the months of January, April, May, September, and October. And in fact, it was in October, just before the recent election that we had, November the 20th, that things began to really take off. And after elections, things just shot up.
yeah,
And I
just
mean, it's going up really fast. But then again, it's conceived on the ninth, and we're in entering a nine personal year. So that makes all the sense in the world. But also, what's interesting about the nine is this: nine is governed by the newer planet called Pluto. As of November the 19th of 2024, Pluto entered the sign of Aquarius under the sign of Scorpio, which is water, because that's a water sign that we were talking about. Pluto is a revolutionary sign. It means a transformation, and Aquarius is the sign of transformation, like the number 4. So what happens is it means symbolically, and it's going to sit there from November 19th of 2024 until 2044. So it's going to be there the next 20 years, 19 keys. And
mm-hmm.
so what happens is this: winners become losers and losers become winners. So those people at the top think they got it like that. They're going to find that there's going to be a paradigm shift that's going to call them to their knees. And those that have been struggling, those that have been in all earnest, just trying to do the best they can, and is blocked at every turn they make, all of that's going to turn around. So for those of you who struggle, you will find that things, if you take your time, will begin to turn around in your favor. And for those that's high up there, like BlackRock and all these other highfalutin companies, believe me, they're going to be humble a bit. And so when they talk about in 2030, you'll want for nothing, I'm going to always place my bet with the heavens than man. Trust me.
Now that is a fact. They say you will own nothing and be happy.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
right.
no.
Yeah.
This is
That's
this is the time where people are supposed to be prepared and not scared, right?
yes, exactly. That's the point.
There's too many people trying to protect themselves from the future instead of prepare themselves for the future, right?
A big difference.
So when
Big
you're
difference.
prepared, you go in, right, with the ability to be fluid in movement, right, and to be comfortable as well, because you want to be comfortable in the world that you live in. And you be comfortable, number one, by your preparation and your awareness, right?
Hmm.
What you do, because we live in a world of information. Information is congruent to numbers, right?
Hmm.
Bitcoin is what they call mathematical purity, right?
Hmm.
So it was made in such a way to where it is protected, right, as a truth that where nobody can hack it, at least for now. But as we go into a quantum world, the fear is that quantum machines will be able to hack it, because quantum machines operate with multiple numbers at once and not
Yes.
just binary code. So it
Yeah.
operates with qubits, right?
Yeah.
So as Microsoft just made the announcements with Willow, they're saying essentially the person who can hack Bitcoin is the first person who can steal Satoshi tokens, which is going to be a hefty prize. Now they're saying the way Bitcoin was made, that it is made essentially to give you at least 2 to 5 years, right, before quantum computers to be able to hack it. But
I
what we
heard that. I heard that. Definitely.
the
Yeah.
world shifts very fast, and quantum computers, even the way they operate, the operator of them can't tell you exactly how it works, right? Because they're essentially pulling from different dimensions, right? When they say that this goes beyond the expanse of the universe, what they're saying is that it is beyond where light has reached in this dimension. And so therefore, in order for it to complete that within the time frame in which it completed the problems, then it must have solved it in multiple dimensions because it had to. So it's the same thing as a person becoming multi-dimensional, right? A lot of times we became one-dimensional with a skill set and a career. Then we started to become multi-dimensional. A lot of people jumped in artistry, or they became content creators or streamers or whatever it was, and they realized, wait a minute, me going to get a job similar to the boomer generation won't work. So people were forced to become multidimensional, which then forced them to look inside themselves of saying that, who am I? What do I really like to do? Versus what can I do for capital gain based on my human capital input or output rather. So as human capital decreases, we go into the AI world, which is 1-9, right? We talked about the alpha and omega, right? The beginning
Yep.
and the end.
Mm-hmm.
Even as we talk about America began with the war of the AI, right? The American Indians, you know what I'm saying? Versus the American invaders. And then that A being numerical 1 and that I being numerical 9, right? So if you really want to know the 1-9 keys, then you have to understand the truth to be observed things from the smallest to the largest, with 1 will represent the minimum number and 9 will represent the maximum, right? So America has reached its maximum point, right? But it also represents masculine and feminine. Now, as we go through the 9 representing the subconscious feature of the mind where things are given birth, right?
Yeah.
The woman
Yeah.
represents that 9 and the man represents the 1, masculine and feminine. This world has shifted to where a lot of the young male minds had the 9 in front of the 1, meaning that they were more feminine than were masculine, right? So they were filtering, right, their logic through their emotions, right, instead of their emotions through their logic.
Logic.
Right?
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
the women shift theirs over to the other way. So therefore, it became an issue where more men are becoming overly feminine and more men have become more masculine, right? And this is happening during the end of an era of an empire. So therefore, we see an increase in artificial insemination. Number one, we see more abortion of thought and abortion of the body, right? Because they're not being in alignment. So when you are in alignment, right, then you give birth to things because you are constantly in preparation to be in flow for the pain to give birth, to push past. That is the power of the mind. When you have that 19 mind or that 1 mind, you are someone that can operate with that 1 mind, that logic mind, right? You become master of the world. But as we are flowing into this 9 world, right, to where we have a world that is more fluid with the operations because we have more abundance of multidimensional choice and not just one logical position for us to stand in, we have to make sure that we're operating so deep within our truth that we can move throughout the world. So as we evolve, we don't change and compromise our values. So we don't try to assimilate because we will lose so much of ourselves that we will be moving backwards. Now,
Yeah.
this world goes into 911, right? That's the emergency era. We go to September 9th, right? It
Yes.
was emergency. They said 19 hijackers, right? On this
Yeah.
particular day, this is a signal to let you know something is happening. What is going on in the world? Why is the flare of 911 up, right? It is a fast signal that a world is going out. So therefore, what they start doing, they have to start ushering in this new paradigm and this new age to try to save power, right? Because the Alpha and Omega wants to remain. They want to remain at the top. But there is the new guards and the new guys that come in and say, wait a minute, it's our time to be number one, right? So it's
Yes,
the struggle
exactly.
of the ones. But when you understand the pyramid, then you really, or the universe, then you understand that, wait a minute, even if you are 9, you are 1. It's just 9 ones.
Exactly. That's
And
all it is.
a
Because
1 is
everything
just
starts with one principle.
exactly. But see, when you are the 1 and you put a 9 next to that, then you have been multiplied 9 times. So therefore, when a man has a woman next to him, he has multiplied his worth and his value. And now he can give birth to things that he could not do just by himself. So the ego is the 1, which is great, right? So if you want to understand how to survive in a quantum age, then we have to go into quantum love. So what does that mean, Lloyd? That means that if we're going into this paradigm where we have the masters of this world that own quantum computers, how dare the young Negro American try to compete with that? How could he do it? Especially if he doesn't have his 9 by his side. So in order for that to be brought out, in order for us to be able to even compete with AI, which is why we get wave suppression, right?
Mm-hmm.
They said we don't
Mm-hmm.
want to pay y'all more. We want to buy our assets, borrow our money, pay our interest on that, right? Not pay you more because we lose more. Instead,
Mm-hmm.
accumulate more, then we can continue to grow. So wave suppression means what? Another AI we enter into that. We got artificial intelligence, right? And then we got alien immigrants. Both start with AI again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're trying to play God because that 19 is that God number, right? So they said, how do we maintain mastery at this frequency? Right. So that's when the owners of this world say, let's bring in the robots, right? Let's figure out we can decrease human capital to where we're not dependent on you. Then let's create these algorithms to where we have artificial influence because America became so great because Black influence allowed America to be great. We were the first music, meaning the first frequency. We were the
We
first
were the first
album,
everything,
first body.
19
We
years. We
were
were the
the
first
first.
everything, period.
We were the
Yeah.
alpha. You
Yeah.
understand? The problem
Yeah.
is we didn't manage our own energy. Now, I'm close to this point. Going back to quantum computers. How do we compete with a master who has a quantum machine? He can simulate, right? Multiple realities all at once. So I looked at it and I said, wait a minute now. Our women were considered the first computers in this country,
That's right.
the hidden figures.
That movie, Hidden Figures, brought that out. They were referred, our sisters were referred to as computers
And what
right
did
here
they do? They calculated numbers,
in their heads. Yeah.
mathematicians. And the white man said, man, in order for us to be superior in this country, we need the Black woman, right? Bring them over here. They were the computing power of the nation in order to put them in position to be number one. So then, if you also say, wait a minute, let's create resentment and issues and problems so that that 1 and that 9 never connect, because we ain't never got to worry about that man as long as he's not with his woman.
Mm-hmm.
As
Mm-hmm.
long as we using her, he's not using her, and we her boss, and he's not, and they're not compatible, and they don't have good communication skills, even though she has all of the supreme computational power. That, if paired, because those numbers are pairings, if
Mm-hmm.
paired
Mm-hmm.
together, we got a big problem. But as long as we can keep them apart, gender wars, culture wars, all within them, ain't nothing.
All of that is by design. For
And
example, on my show, I explain why you. So they talk about the angry Black woman. I don't hear the angry white woman, the angry Asian woman,
we
the
got
angry
close with
Hispanic
Karen.
woman. Huh? Exactly, exactly.
They talk about the spicy.
Only the Black woman is the angry woman. And so I just think it's interesting. You mean white women don't get angry?
Right.
Hispanic women don't get angry?
Because they're
Asian don't get
always
angry?
trying to paint a picture. And what is that? That is the missing father, the angry woman, right?
Yeah,
These
yeah.
are not depictions that makes us attracted to each other, right? So what do? They create Hollywood images that constantly, consistently, and remember the consistency is a frequency. So if we were to accumulate the number of times that they showed us in disagreement and agreement, then we're going to end up in disagreement
Agreement.
because that's
Exactly.
what we visualize and that's what we were stimulated with. So the frequency in which you observe something becomes a number. It becomes your arithmetic of programming in which you produce. So therefore, it becomes your reality.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
simple when you think about it. That's why
Yeah.
Hollywood has to control the image, right? They are the mage of the mind of the imagination nation. Because if you can control your imagination, then you can rule your own nation, right?
Mhm.
And the birth
Mhm.
of a nation was the Ku Klux Klan film, right? Because they were trying to stop the rise of the Messiah, which was the FBI, because they understood that the true Messiah is the relationship between black men and women on this planet, right? That's all. If anything, that's the only thing we would ever need to do is the repairing and the restructuring, right, of our relationships with our women. And we just put out the statistics. Even in the UK, they having the issues because women are making more money, right, being more educated in the system, and more black men are wanting to get out of the system. So they're digressing and saying that we don't find interest in the system because nihilism, the despair, right, of saying the system is owned by them, so why should I participate? And the woman is saying, we just got our opportunity to participate. Shoot, I'm gonna go get me some.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'll tell you, one of the greatest threats to this nation in the United States is the black family.
it
And
is
so all of this thing is by design, that I don't need no man. No, no. Yes, you do. You wouldn't have got here without a man in the first place.
it's a reason
Okay?
why they call it the nuclear family.
Yep.
The
Yep.
nuclear,
Yep.
because it is power. It is
Hmm.
literally power. It's nuclear power,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So if you want to make a quantum leap, especially with us being 100 years behind, we are however many years from when our relationships were broken. That's how many years we were behind in wealth. Because the true adjustment of wealth and our true net worth is our relationship to each other, and the
Yeah.
value we have to each other is our
And
true.
that's invaluable, 19. That's invaluable having this you and being the nucleus of the family, because now it's almost a given that you grow up in a one family home, either a mother or father. Normally it's the mother. Back in the days of my parents and their parents, it was thing to be like you are an illegitimate child. It was a given that if you were born, you had a mother and father
Right.
somewhere. You see what I'm saying? Those were the kind of things. But now it's got it whereby I don't need you. And so it's all a kind of dividing thing. But once we take the blindfolds off, once we take the earplugs out of our ears and begin to hear and see with a higher consciousness as you're talking about, it's over.
Oh
It's
yeah,
over.
and it's going to happen because
It can't be
all it's
stopped.
going to require is a update. You have the software already. It's like, hey, you got the phone. You got
Yeah.
the software. That's the body. You know, Lord, I've been working out a little bit, man. Making sure my hardware is right. So when I do my upload, I got the proper technology. You
I
feel me?
say,
That can house the energy because we going into a new world, man. You got to do a hardware and a software reboot. You need an
yep,
update,
yep, yep,
right? Sometimes when you're trying to figure out, goddamn, man, how come I don't have updated software? Because you haven't did a reset. You got to do a
yeah,
system reset.
yeah,
You feel me?
yeah,
And that system reset allows everything to power down, right? And you to be able to accept the new world and then power up in position again. And so we need a cultural reset so that we can be updated in the times that we living in. But here's the thing. You know, we got a lot of organizations that are thriving off our failures.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And so they can't be radical with any solution because they have too much to lose,
yeah,
because they are advancing based on that. We have so-called organizations of boule, of church and civil rights and all these things that ain't got us nowhere, but it has gotten the pockets lined of those who have benefited off of it, of keeping us at bay,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And they only preach these things when it's convenient, not because it's who they are. And you can tell because when anytime we have a political season, they jump out the window. They act like, oh, they black as hell. But now in this season, where are they? They're not
yeah,
making noise. But that means that's not who they really are. That's entertainment. That's Hollywood. It's a show.
yeah,
It's a production.
yeah,
It was all theater. But guess what? They all got paid, which means during that cycle, the rich got richer, regardless of what politician was in the building. So
Yeah.
when you understand, right, the time that we living in and the age that we living in, all the little who the president, all them little details don't matter as much because the time is now, right? When you understand that we're going into this 9 era, you say, well, I already know what kind of year it is. I already know what the shift is. See, I wear this sun and this moon, right? What is that moon controls and has effects on our physical bodies, right? When
Mm-hmm.
there's a full moon, it weighs on the waters in our body. It pulls us. It can make us more aggressive or
And
emotional.
most of our body is contained of water anyway.
Exactly. We're born in the dark waters, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
spark light, and then that birth is happening. And then the stars, we look at the position of the stars. We can grade those not just by sight, but by numbers. The astronomy uses a lot of numbers,
Yes.
right? When they're talking about coordinates to know where you are. And those coordinates, as we're tapping into the ether of the universe, getting these downloads, because it ain't coming from the physical matter of your brain.
Mm-mm.
Oh, that's a whole different dimension. You tapping into that. So as the universe shifts, that's where it affects the mind. The stars affect the mind like the moon affects the body. So when you know where we are in the universe, right? Because we are traveling, right? So if we're traveling, that means that we could be moving closer or farther away from one planet or another planet or a sun or a different position than this. If the sun affects us and we also have these other cosmic events that are happening all the time, then it could be altering, right, our consciousness. So as we shift into the aqua age, the Aquarian age, the water barrier, the water mind, that means that we have to learn how to be more fluid in our adjustments, right? And stop being so rigid and stuck. So there are
Mm-hmm.
some people, they get stuck. Why is it? Why is this? Why is this? No, let's just move
And
and
it
flow
keeps
with
them
things.
from growing. It keeps them from evolving. It keeps them
Hey,
from reaching the level where they need to be.
they say we
You know,
got AI and robots. All right, I'm gonna figure out how I'm gonna use that for me. Let's figure that out, how that's gonna
you
play.
know, there was a question asked of me that, like, would AI ever replace what I do? No. AI could maybe add the numbers faster than I do. But what a lot of people fail to understand, AI don't have a soul.
Talk to
They
them.
don't have a spirit. And that's to say, that's what I'm saying. So there's no A out there, no matter. So they can draw beautiful images, beautiful videos, create what you want by putting them, but they don't have a soul. And that, so they will never match what I do. Yes, they may try to imitate my voice. They can do that now. They can imitate my image. They can do that now, but they cannot produce your spirit, my spirit, your soul, my soul.
Because
They can't do that.
if and this is why the information is nothing. It doesn't matter. It's the wisdom in you that matters. The wisdom is the waters,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
The wisdom is the waters in which the knowledge flows, right? Knowledge has to be carried on the river of wisdom, right? Because there are many people who can add up the numbers. What does numbers mean? The
yeah,
meaning comes from the human soul connection.
yeah, yeah,
If you ask the average person to go try to study everything Lloyd did, they ain't got time for that. It exists, right? But it doesn't matter as well because the way it gets animated is through breath, through ka, right?
hmm,
When you go back into ancient Kemetic, you had to get that ka, that breath to give life to something, right?
hmm,
So it is the animation because you want to sit there and watch a machine, right? Boring, monotone, even if it's emulating the animation, it still will never have breath.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so the power of it is not just the information, right? It is when that information is carried and animated into life, which is why wisdom doesn't debate, only knowledge can debate, right? Wisdom is different. The ocean does not debate. You can try to swim against the ocean, but the ocean is all
you
powerful.
can forget that. Yeah,
It
that you
ain't
can
nothing
forget.
you can do.
You either go with the tide or you don't. So
Exactly.
anybody knows going against the tide what the nature of natural forces would be. It would never work like that. So the beauty of it is to be in lockstep with the universe, to understand it, to take advantage of it, and how to capitalize on it rather than going against it. So this year of 2025 coming up, it is about going with the universe. fulfilling those humanitarian efforts, being more beneficial to humanity, being global and international, understanding that we all come from the human family. Now, for those of the lower consciousness, it's about hating, fighting, confrontations, wars, things like that. But that's the lowest side of the nature of the nine. But if we stick to the universal brotherhood side of the nine, everybody would benefit. And it don't cost nothing to be nice to each other either. I just don't get it. People want to just get ugly. You know what I'm saying? Like they just do. And so now, since nine is the war number, if you notice with the Democrats and Republicans, they don't dislike each other. They hate each other. See, that's to the negative. And this does not do this country any good or its citizens of this country. But I'm saying, as I've said again, Black people are going to save this world, believe it or not. As crazy as it may sound, we will save this world. We have gone through everything. No other people have gone through what we've gone through, and we have survived. And
Right.
only the best of us survive. So
Only
when
a
we look at
fool,
everybody up there,
only a fool wouldn't embrace us because they would be jealous.
yeah.
What the
And
world
everything comes from us, our music, our culture. We done reggae, we done hip hop, we done country western, we done blues, jazz, hip hop. All of it comes from us. Just that's all I'm saying.
you're welcome. And as we continue to, go through time and space, you get to see how cycles connect all things,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we focus on flourishing, right? A lot of times we grade ourselves by machines. We use machine language of productivity and output, right? And efficiency, right? And that's because we have learned to see ourselves as little work bots, trying to maximize as much as we can, right? But that often leads to a burnout because we're not focused on living in connection to our nature, which means that we would change and use language like, how do we flourish in this environment? Because nature flourishes,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Nature does not work, nature flourishes, right? And it has regenerative powers. How do we regenerate those results over and over to where they have consistent sustainability over time? It makes us think farther ahead, meaning that we need to be living within our nature, in the nature of time, because the nature of time is not wound on a clock. It is
Not
connected.
not in that way. No, no, people don't get it. Not
You
in
don't
that
need
situation.
a woman
Time.
don't need a clock to know her cycle. No, she can number one in tune with the body, be connected and see the moon and know what something is coming. We don't need a clock to know what time it is, right? I know exactly damn near to the T what time it is based on when the sun is rising in the morning. If it has reached a point past where I can stare into the sun, oh man, it's past 8 o'clock already,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
It's past sunrise.
We're not you being connected to the heavenly bodies, right? Which are those cosmic bodies, the sun, moon, and stars, right? Man used to look up and he would see millions of stars. We poisoned and with our sky with light pollution. So
Mm-hmm.
now instead of looking up to the heavenly bodies, we look down into a black mirror, right? Which is often a cesspool. So man is being fed ignorance way more than they'll be fed in the cosmos, right? Because we're looking down more than we're looking up, and we're looking out more than we're looking in. So we
Mm-hmm.
become lost, right? Because the cosmos and the inner gives you sight, allows you to know where to go and where to lead. You understand me? So it becomes very powerful when you get back in alignment with self. Because when you get back connected to light, right, that connects to your brain, your suprachiasmatic nucleus, where you have that X that takes in information, right, and it lets you know what time of the day it is, right? So now your biological clock is connected. So now you're operating and you're flourishing, because just like a plant don't need a clock because it gets its information from the sun, right? So if we're spending too much time getting our information from the screen instead of the sun, right, then we're getting inflammation instead of information. And then that means that the information can't transfer into a download to become a substance, right, that is good for us. So that's why we walking around with all this inflammation. And inflammation is when the body attacks itself, right? It's sending cells to the body, said, damn, I think something is wrong. Go heal me. So now your
Yeah.
body is attacking itself because we're over chemicalized. We're
Yeah.
under mineralized. And where can we get minerals and vitamins from? The sun. You
Sun.
step
Yeah.
outside right there in the sun, you get your minerals. And now we are in what? The winter equinox where there's less sun. So there's less information from the cosmos. So you have to know to be in position because there's less times for you to get downloads throughout the day. But when you
Yeah.
purposely hide from the cosmos, now you get sick because your body is deprived of what it needs and you're seeking it in places it don't exist. So now you're getting sicker. So we
And
have to
we're
learn
trying
how
to
to get
question
back
why
in
we're getting sicker. For example, they're finding out that younger people than ever before are having diseases like heart concerns,
there. Mm-hmm.
cancers,
Mm-hmm.
things that were all given. It was the elders
And
would do.
uglier too.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
no,
It's interesting you put it like that.
but
Definitely
I'm
the
saying
question.
because they did a study and showed that people who mouth breathe more are considered to be less attractive. You know what I mean? So imagine if you get sick and you got all this congestion going on all the time, then you can't breathe out your nose. You get less oxygen to your brain, right?
Mhm.
So what it does is it starts to weigh on your jawline to where you got one of them faces that start to look forward. You understand? Because you're constantly breathing out your mouth. So now just by being out of sync in the operation and being healthy with self, you start to have an uglier generation. There's less attractive people in the world. That's why they got to get all the surgeries. You know what I'm saying? That's what's going on right now, Lloyd. I'm trying to tell you.
And you know, it's interesting. People say, well, I know how to breathe. No, they don't. They think they know how to breathe. But there's an art to breathing. And this is why we have these nostrils rather than the mouth. You know what I'm saying? And these have ciliars in the nose to stop germs coming in. But when the mouth is open, the whole mouth is exposed to everything out of the air, the pollution, everything like that. So being a nose breather is much more to one's advantage than being a mouth breather. That's for sure.
And think about it when you are got your mouth closed, you're listening more. You know what I
Well,
mean?
that's why God gave us 2 ears and one
Come on
mouth, brother.
now. Hey, wisdom is beautiful. Shut your mouth, listen more.
But it goes with one ear out the other.
You know what I'm saying?
And
Now,
this,
let me ask you,
yes.
given that we live on a 12-month time system, and like in Ethiopia, they live on a 13-month time system.
Hmm.
Give me the consequences of the difference of being on the 12 and the 13.
Well, 12 here, well, at least here in the West, everything is based upon the 12 planets, the 12 disciples, the 12 months in the year, things of that nature. But 13 takes it to a whole nother level. That's why it says those who understand the 13 is given power and dominion. But those who misuse it, it will wreak havoc and destruction. So if you look at the 13, it's composed of two fire numbers, which is a 1 and a 3. They're both odd numbers, and odd numbers are more proactive versus even numbers less proactive. And
Mm.
so it just takes things to a whole higher level. Even this country founded itself upon the principle of the 13, 13 stars, 13 stripes, 13 colonies, 13 signs of the Declaration of Independence. It was signed at 1300 Locust Street, E Pluribus Unum, 13 letters, the White House, 13 letters, Don't Tread on Me, 13 letters. So so the United States understood that, but what I'm concerned about is this country has misused its power because it says for those that misuse it, it brews thus destruction. And so I'm saying that those powers that be somewhat are more kind of like, and you know, it's interesting. This country is about more profit than people. For example, here they'll send billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine, to the Middle East. But then when there was that hurricane in North Carolina a couple of months ago, and that's when I think Vice President Harris came to North Carolina and says, well, we're going to make through FEMA $720 a family. Now, what can $720 do when your home has been ravaged and destroyed?
Mm.
What you going to do with that? That's nothing. Even if your house was in place, $720 is no money
Mm-hmm.
nowadays, not at all. So it's just misplaced. And so, for example, there was a thing about the food industry. They were trying to warn the FDA about this ultra processed food. The food industry or lobby was fighting them about they are interested in making a profit. But to me, if you give people life, you will always make a profit. You know what I'm saying? So greed
Mm.
is going to, so sometimes too much of it is bad as little of it. And I think, to me, my opinion only, not a reflection on your show, because I don't want you to have no problems, because I got my own philosophy about things. Greed is going to destroy this nation. It really is.
Absolutely.
It's
When
all
we
about the
get to
profit.
a point,
It ain't about the humanity. Anytime the drug industry made $1.2 trillion in profit, it's not about you and me. It's about how much medications that can be sold.
the one of the goals of humans should be to keep the profits of pharmaceutical companies down, meaning that there is an adverse connection between the illness of society and the profits of the company, right? One has a fiduciary duty to make more profits. If you're incentivized to make profits off people's sickness, then when you also be incentivized to keep them sick, right? Because
Yeah.
they're not trying to cure, they're not promising to cure, they're
Not
promising
about cure. It's just dealing with the symptoms
promising
at the
treatment.
moment. Yep.
So when we have so much profit in the pharmaceutical industry, then that means that we have more sickness in the world. So in order for you to become $1 trillion company, you must be treating sicknesses, right? It would make sense for a pharmaceutical company, right, to be in bed with the meat company or be in bed with a food company that produces candies and chemicals and dyes and things of that nature that will send more people to you, and it will make sense for that hospital to be in bed with them. So it's they don't have open air therapy at hospitals. They
Yeah. And
don't have plants and healthy foods in hospitals because their job is not to keep you healthy.
do you know the
You sick.
third leading cause of death? The three leading cause of death in this country is cancers, heart attacks, and yet the third, don't take my word for it, Google it. The third leading cause of death of US citizens is medical errors.
Medical.
Medical errors.
They just
Medical errors in the hospitals. Yes, that's the third leading cause of death to US citizens, my brother.
and see when we're out of tune with the universe and we're not in sync with our nature, right? You have to think about it. One of a backwards animal, right? When you animal, you got a dog, you got a cat, and they eat things that they're not supposed to eat. You know they're gonna get sick. You know
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have gastrointestinal problems. You know they're gonna have digestive problems. You know that when the body cannot flush out the toxins and they build up, it becomes cancerous. That cancer becomes a lump. Then that is when the body is fighting itself, and then that toxin spread throughout the body, and then you can eventually die. But if you would not feed your cat the wrong food, and you will not feed your dog the wrong food because you are aware that it will make them sick, but then you as the owner would then go and eat the wrong foods and it makes you sick. And you attacking your body because you said, well, it tastes good. Well, I'm sure your dog would think certain things taste good as well, but you know
Don't mean it's good for them.
for them. So
Exactly.
they have
Exactly.
what they've done, Lord, is they've made us mathematically backwards. They have inversed us. Everything that we should do that will mathematically add up to the correct way, they've turned us around and we do things backwards. We say, well, I'm going to eat it because it tastes good instead of it's good for me because food should be the medicine, right?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
supposed to, you don't feel good, so you stay inside. That's backwards. If you don't feel good, go outside, right? That's the way you do it. You go inside and get you some sun. You know what I'm saying? You don't feel good. Oh man, I need to be around other people. No, you need to be meditating by yourself to get to the root of this thing so that you can root it out. So therefore, you're not always running away, but you're growing through. And so
Yeah.
most of our habits is backwards. When we don't feel like doing something, we say we're not going to do it instead of recognizing that as a sign for growth and challenge. Right? I don't feel like working out. I mean, the muscles look good. I feel strong. Mobility is increased. But when I'm in
But you
there,
got to be consistent.
but I realize God did not made us to go just through ease, not if we want strength, right? So therefore, I must have challenge. Why? If I'm capable of it, then that means that it's for me.
Yeah.
Right? He
Well,
didn't give
that's the beauty of all
me
this.
a possession of power so that I don't use it. Oh no, some of y'all raising these little soft boys. Oh no, don't say that to him. Don't treat him like that. He don't need to be doing that. You raising him like a Barbie doll.
But that is part of the culture to raise the men to be soft. Can you imagine a guy working on a construction site and say, "Oh, I broke a nail. I'm not gonna work today." It don't go like that, brother. It don't go like that. Men are not designed to be soft.
No, they're not.
That's not designed by that.
I want to hear all this. I want soft life too. That's what they be saying now. These new dudes, man, they want a soft life.
Well,
They want,
everything I know, you got to work hard for it. You work hard to build your organization. You put in a lot of sweat, a lot of effort,
yeah.
probably a lot of challenges too. As
There's
you
a man
grown,
on
they're
here
going to
right
be,
now, man. Somebody ain't get him a Christmas gift.
huh?
So it's a man on here now. Somebody didn't get him a Christmas gift.
Yo, it ain't that serious, brother.
Crying. See, the man should be the giver. Is the point.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
You are supposed to be the giver, right?
yeah.
You give her. You know what I'm talking about? Now you're supposed to get reciprocation so that you are not burnt out from your giving because reciprocation is a refill. When somebody say thank you, it's a refill with thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
it. Because
yeah, yeah,
now I have not just given, we've created a regenerative process. You've regenerated what I have given out in another form of currency. It is a currency exchange. So we have to focus exchange consistently.
hmm,
Exchange is regenerative wealth. My wealth should not diminish when I give to the family, right? Because I should always get reciprocity, right? So therefore, if the more grateful you are, the more we do for each other, and the more I can do for self. So when you have ungratefulness, that is a form of greed as well. When people just take and they don't have reciprocity, and poor people can be greedy just like rich people,
yes, they
right?
can. Even
Because
more so in certain instances too.
or because when you don't have reciprocity, that's greed. You just take it and they gave nothing back. You just have expectation, right? Without giving anything back. So we may look at there's far more or less rich people than there are poor people, right? And so we look at the rich because we say, all that you have, we say, damn, I should have that or some of that. But if we be honest with ourselves, every rich person has no connection to your poverty whatsoever, right? There's some that have trillions of dollars and billions of dollars in wealth. That may affect society. But the average
Hmm.
millionaire, decamillionaire, that has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do, your life has everything to do with your decisions and you lining that up, right? And you doing the right thing and you living in accordance to abundance, right? Meaning that you're operating within flow. You are exchanging your time for something in return, right? So when you do that, you are living a wealthy life. But there's way too much greedy poor people. It is because they
Well,
want
we have been
more
programmed
than they
like that.
give.
This is one of the reasons why in the poorest communities we will have the Gucci bags, we will have this, we will have Maybach sitting in front of the projects, okay, things of that nature. Cause it's a nice front to show. But if you notice, the poor people are the one that look like they got the most money, and it's the very rich that act like they ain't got no money. So there's maybe something we can learn from that whole
Yeah,
mindset.
because the wealthy focus on preservation, right?
Mhm.
When you don't have, right, you focus on accumulation. When you have, you focus on preservation. So they saying, how can I keep what I have and not lose it? So they look at inflation and don't say it ain't that I can't afford it, is that my purchasing power goes down if things continue to rise up. So instead
Mhm.
of focus on risky bets, I just need to put my money in something safe that will outpace inflation so that as things rise, my purchasing power stays the same or ahead.
But
Now,
that's the kind of mindset we should have. But
yeah,
other than that, this is why this country is referred to now as a debtor nation.
come on.
People are deep, deep in debt. No think of savings. No think of putting that when the economy fluctuate up and down to have established a balance for yourself. No, we'll just spend. And a lot of people now, their credit cards are exhausted. I mean, it's just amazing. And that was what I was talking about during 2024. you may want something, but you need to handle your business first.
Mm.
Okay. You need to pay your bills. You need to put some savings aside. These are things you need versus, okay, I want to get this, I want to get that because it's the latest gadgets, the latest car, the latest styles, or whatever the case is. And yet we're starving in the midst of plenty. That's the irony of all this.
Now, Lloyd, I'm going to be in New York February 7th. I have a special Save Yourself tour experience. It's going to be very powerful. If you're going to be in New York, I would definitely love for you to be in the
Brother,
building.
New York is my home. New York
Yes,
is my home. So I will be there definitely.
yes,
And
sir.
I'm a 7, so it's perfect for me. It's
Yeah,
perfect.
it's a 7 day. Can you give us a breakdown of the 7 day?
7 is very spiritual. 7, despite the many religious philosophies and bodies there are, when it comes to agreement, there is no disagreement that 7 is a sacred or holy number.
Mm.
All of the major things that take place. For example, Christ's birthday is celebrated tomorrow on the 25th. Billy Graham is born on the 7th. Elijah Muhammad, the founder of the Nation of Islam, was born on the 7th. Bishop Desmond Tutu was born on the 7th. Buddha was born on the 7th of February. Mary Baker Eddy, the founded Christian Science, was born on the 7th month on the 16th day.
Happy day.
Charles Russell, the founder of Jehovah's Witness, he was born on February the 16th. 1 + 6 is 7. And if you talk to a Muslim and they go to Medina, the circle of cobblestone, they must circle the cobblestone 7 times. In
Mm.
the Bible, they talk about they circled the walls of Jericho 7 times. They sounded the trumpet 7 times, and the walls came tumbling down. 7 notes in the musical scale.
Thank you, Stephen.
7 days in the week. 7 continents in the 7 great sins, the 7 deadly sins, the 7 virtues. So 7 is a very spiritual and powerful number. Let there be no question.
Man, thank you. Because 2/7 is going to be a very powerful day. It's the start of a movement.
And 7s and 4s are just like that.
Yeah.
It's your energy.
It's
And
okay.
it's in February because February rules the period of the 4, which is your number.
Yes. So I'm gonna leave these with the last part of this. The way people find a number, right, is they're adding up their day that they were born, the month they were born, and the year that they were born.
That's to get the long range term. But the
Okay.
day they're born, actually, the date of birth is more immediate. The month, the day, and the year you're born is called your destiny. I call it determines what grade you're in the school of life, why we're here over
Okay.
this long journey from the womb to the tomb.
So
But if
that's a
I
more
wanted to
macro, like,
find out,
yeah.
so if I want to find out your immediate number, I go to your birthday, which is a 4. So it tells
Okay.
me very odd, unusual, misunderstood. 4 is the number of secret enemies because of jealousy, envy, insecurity. 4s like to think outside the box. They go against the norm, but 4s are the geniuses. So a lot of the people we read about in the history books, my friend, were once weird in their time, but
Mm.
but up the road, they just recognized that these were people that just were far in advance, such as the nature of a 4 or the sign of Aquarius.
Yeah.
That's all, you know. So that's all it is. So therefore, jealousy, secret enemies, things of that nature. But 4s are geniuses; they really are, and not because you are a 4, but if you take another 4, a Taurus 4, think of Stevie Wonder. In the inner visions of my mind, blind visually, but could see better than most people, could see with 2 eyes and
Mm.
sight. You
Talk
know
to
what I'm saying? So 4 is a very genius number. So it's whether it's January the 4 through December the 4, they are all standouts in history numerically, you know. So, but I say this though, for people that, yeah, and can I say this? When I
yes,
saw
sir.
you 2 years ago, I just developed an app. I have a numerology mobile app. It's called a Star 8, ASTAR, the number 8. So if they go to the Android or the Play Store or go to the Apple, they can download it. It's called a Star 8 by Lloyd Strayhorn. Think of a star in the sky with the number 8. Or to go all my products and services, they just go to Linktree /numbers in you. In fact, these are my books. These are my books. And so all these books are available on Amazon. Okay. And so if they want to get anything or find out all my services, just go to Linktree /numbers in you. And they'll find out all my services. But to start it, especially since we're starting the new year, The Star 8 app will tell you your lucky numbers. In your case, it's a 4, 1, and 5. Your best days, which is Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday. Your best dates, your best months, your best years, ages, and all that stuff, and a lot more. So it's go to a Star 8, ASTAR, the number 8, or go to astar8.com and download it from there.
Mm. Man, family, I appreciate you. Thank you
Thank
for this
you.
masterful demonstration and all the work
Thank
that
you.
you do. I look forward to seeing you in New
On the
York.
7th. Yeah, I'll be right there. Just reach out to me.
You all can scan this QR code right here, right? And then they'll give you access to the tickets as well once they sell out, right? I don't know. I'm not sure if we're going to be adding a second show. So that might be the only one and the only time available. So make sure that you scan that and make sure you follow my good brother, Lloyd Strayhorn, who is an astro numerologist. He is a master at his craft, and it is very important to be a master at your craft. You can also go to 19keys.com/tour, right? If you want to get access to the tickets. So make sure you go do that now before they sell out. It's going to be a very powerful day where we're going to be giving you the blueprint. Anytime I do something like, even if you was at one of my previous tours, right? I did a global tour before. The way we did it in a way to where if you followed the thesis, the knowledge, who we brought, right? The way the tour is designed, it's an experience, right? It's sound, it's color, it's energy. And I've been studying my previous ones because my goal is to master it, right? There's so much digital things going on. The in-person experience to me matters the most, right? Because that's where we find true connectivity. That's where we find true culture and community. But the goal is to create these digital networks. And as we're going into these new world shifts, we need guidance, we need leadership. But what is that ship that we can get on? That we can say, okay, this is going to help us elevate through time and space as we're going through all of these cosmic shifts that are happening throughout the planet. So my goal was to put together a Save Yourself blueprint, right? When I study other cultures throughout the globe, I say some of them, the way they save themselves is because they have a standard blueprint and framework in which they can work to live by, to build wealth, to build power, right? And so we being in the time that we're in, there's so much opportunity and so much abundance, but how do we flourish? How do we unleash our future? Because it's waiting for us, right? It's right there at that threshold of what we say we want to do versus what we actually do, right? The idea of saving $1 and when you're supposed to be exchanging it for an asset that is going to be more valuable in the new world is the idea that everybody should be living on, right? Because if you have things that are outdated, you need to update your whole reality from your language, from your mind, from your body, from your finances, from your outlook, from your mentality, so that you can be in alignment with the world that we're going towards. And as this old world shifts out, if you continue to operate in those old ways, you will be left out, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you're going to be wondering, why did they have abundance? Why am I lacking the proper execution? Why can't I interpret things and signs in these times? Because, Lloyd, the way I like to explain synchronicity for a lot of people is if you can be given all of the right signs, but if you don't know what the symbols mean,
Mm-hmm.
they will
Mm-hmm.
never take you in the direction to lead you in the right way. So a signal without interpretation of meaning is just noise. It's like hearing chatter on the waves, and you don't know what language that is, but they could be breaking down the next stock they about to invest with insider information. You don't know nothing about it though. You can't
And
interpret the language. They could
And you
be
know what's interesting? Many things are so symbolic. So when they talk about like the New York Stock Exchange, just to give a more earthly nature, was founded on May 17th under the sign of Taurus.
yes,
When the
sir.
stock market is doing well, don't they say the market is bullish? Well, what is the zodiac sign of Taurus? It is the bull.
Right.
So there's so many other symbolic things that's right in our face. We just need to be taught or have our consciousness raised to know how to interpret these symbols when we see them and what they mean. And so it's the lack of knowledge that causes us to be in some of our situations when really all they have to do is just be awake and aware and do the best of this. Everything is symbolic. Everything is symbols. The sun, the moon, the stars, the heavens, everything is symbolic. It's just
Yes,
how
sir.
we interpret it and the nature of our sophistication to do that.
Numbers are symbolic, but once you understand
Everything.
what they mean, because and what is a one? I just see a symbol. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, a one represents new beginnings, the first principle. So in your case, and I want to end this by talking about you for a second. Of all the numbers that go from 1 to 31, one of the best numbers to behold is the number 19.
Mm,
19 represents the alpha and the omega. They're both fire numbers. These are numbers that energize. So that means people with a 19 means they have the ability to start what they finish and finish what they start.
mm,
It takes it to a whole nother level. That's why symbolically the 19 is referred to as the Prince of Heaven, denoting honor, success, and esteem. So if there's a woman that's born on the 19th, I'll refer to her simply as the Princess of Heaven, which means honor, success, and esteem. So when they talk about the Alpha and the Omega, that is 19. You have the most perfect name for what you do, my brother. And
man.
then there's keys. And what does keys do? It unlocks things. It gives you access. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
I don't know how you got the name, but I'll share on that one, brother. Trust me.
Well, I want to thank you again, brother.
Thank you, thank
Thank
you,
you
thank
all
you.
for being here. We got 2,700 people in the room across Twitter
Wow.
and YouTube.
I thank them. I
Make
thank them.
sure there's literally 1,919 people on Twitter. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So make sure y'all go follow.
And see, somebody just says, where does 19 come from? See?
19 comes from Masterful Art of Muhammad. It gets deep, but the
Yeah.
initial quote and initial beginning phase of being impressioned, right, by this quote from Masterful Art of Muhammad. He said there's 17 million original people and there's 2 million Indians. And he said that represents the 19 million rusty locks. And he said there's 19 million well-oiled keys to unlocking those rusty lock minds. So key is a word that's interchangeable for knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Those rusty locks is interchangeable for bandhas, right? Sensors in the body of energy that can be unlocked, right? And so when you have that key, that knowledge of self, right, then you can never be oppressed again. Nobody can ever put you in that darkness. And so the idea of this 19 is not to represent a finite 19 million people. It represents all, right? And those keys represent truth. So when you understand all truth, then it allows you to go from source to unlock those who need that. And I've been in my life many times where I needed a key. I needed somebody to help unlock my mind so I can move to that next level. So I decided to become 19 Keys as a representation of that knowledge. And, you know, by the grace of Allah, He allowed me to touch the globe, right? And to literally,
Well, brother, you couldn't have picked a better choice than 19 keys. And in fact, so for those who may have missed it, in January, I'm starting for the year 2025 a power series. So in January, it's going to be teaching people how to interpret these cycles because I just did a very general, broad stroke, but to be specific, so you know your cycles, the cycles of your loved ones, your family members, even your frenemies or enemies, so you know how to deal with them appropriately. But that takes place on January the 21st. But they can get all that information on my Linktree/numbers in you.
yes. Peace to the family, peace to the
Peace,
God.
peace, and thank you so much. I'm very honored, 19 Keys, and I look forward to seeing you on the 7th. And I bear witness when you came to Harlem, brother, and spoke at the Apollo Theater.
Yes, sir.
Excitement was all over the place. The line was as long as Get Out. You'd have thought James Brown was in the building. Okay.
Yes, sir. That was actually on my birthday too. That was
Yeah, I know it was on the 4th. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely on the
yeah.
4th. I never forgot that. And your assistant was just nice, man. So God bless you. Thank you so much. I'm very honored.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You have a blessed one.
You too, buddy. You take care.
You as well. So, family, make sure you go follow me on YouTube. I do these on Twitter sometime, but we have the rest of our information stored on YouTube. Make sure you click here or go to 19keys.com/tour so that you can get access to the tickets, right? I know we talked about cryptocurrency as the world is changing and the world is shifting. You want to make sure you at least have a beginner knowledge so that you can be in position right? So as cryptocurrency does go up, as we're going to January 19th with the ban of TikTok, and then the next day is going to be January 20th, right? A whole new world as Donald Trump comes into office after the 19th. We're going to see major financial shifts, right? Whether it's XLM, XRP, Bitcoins, whether you learn about airdrops or NFTs, learning the new financial matrix and the new financial markets that we're moving into, this new financial paradigm is key, because the old ways will not work. Old keys will not work in this new world. So make sure that you're operating and you have that particular knowledge, right? Who is that right here? DeCarlo say, join that high level platinum investment strategy. Yes, you definitely want to make sure that you get in, because the students have been benefiting immensely. And I want to thank you all that have been able to make sure that you can. Let me see, for those people who are asking, where's the link? My bad. Let me put that right here. Right. For those who are looking for access, press 1. I will put a link up. So it's called Infinite Wealth Strategies. Infinite Wealth Strategies represents the abundance mindset. But if there's an infinite amount of wealth, what's the most important thing you need is a strategy in order to get you some, right? The problem is that not enough people are strategic and don't know what to do. So there's all this information out here, but people is like, okay, what do I do with the information? And your goal is to take the guessing and the thinking out of it and saying that, damn, I've heard about these things, but how do I get in? How do I get started? What wallets do I use? What is the strategy? Can you show me instructions? Can I be a part of a community? Do we get signals for these things? Do we get alerts, right? How do we interpret the news and the information and all these things happening? My goal is to help you have confidence in the market, right? So that you can start wealth planning, right, for your financial future, so that you can have freedom in the future. As the world continues to turn, a lot of people will not be free in the future. And it's not because they're just mental slaves, it's because the world is shifting and they're not keeping up with the changes and the shifts that's happening in the world. So I love to see that the students are confident as the world changes, they can interpret those changes in the world. They're not wondering, oh, I wonder what this means. I wonder what that means. Why does this mean something? So they're not stuck with that anger and confusion and that stress, because they have a solid community. The goal is to grow this community even bigger, right? There's always going to be benefits of being a part of the group versus being a loner by yourself. So being able to set up your financial future is the key. You understand me? So that's something that we've been doing, and we've been utilizing this platform, right, to make sure that people have that access so that they're not out here stressed trying to figure out what the hell is happening, right? There's so much that I study on a daily, and I'm like, man, how the hell could people even have the time to study all these things that I do, right? I literally sit there sometime and I'm studying for hours and hours and hours. I'm learning about airdrops sometime. A full day it might take me to just go through where to find it, what's the platforms, how do you get involved in it? And I'm like, man, how could the average person that's working 9 to 5 or working a job or that stressed and got so many different things going on, how could they even keep up with all these things that's happening in the world? So that's part of the reason I wanted to create Infinite Wealth Strategies, because I got people in my own family is they're aware of it, but they don't have the time to go through it. And then they feel like they're behind because they feel like they started late and they didn't. So it's like, let me give you at least the basic understanding. And then when you're in a community, you can start to flourish and thrive in these things, right? And so we've been able to do that just through Infinite Wealth Strategists. We also are building out our masculine development and our feminine development classes, getting those started for 2025, right? We have strategies where we teach you how to write your own books. I actually got a really great strategy. It's super simple this time. Because this was before AI. We came up with some of the first strategies. We have some AI strategies when it comes to cryptocurrency, how to get free money out the market with the airdrops and the tokens, right? Some strategies of which ones to hold, right? What are the narratives in crypto, buy and sell strategies to make it simple. Everybody has a different way. Some people don't want to be looking at the market all day and trading. Some people want to know, okay, where should I put my money at? Where should I dollar cost average? So that regardless of what happens in the world, I'm still okay, right? I still have these things in place. And that has given people financial confidence, right? Because you may not believe in a system. You may believe the system is rigged. And I think it is, right? But where do you find your place? how does your strategy fit to where you can have that comfort, right? And you can live a life to say that I know, regardless of what's happening in the world, I'm in position. I think that right there is worth everything because it gives you financial peace, right? There's a thing called poverty-induced stress trauma, right? That it becomes a cycle as you stress because you poor, the stress makes you sick, and now you can't afford to get treatment. So it becomes this cycle. So we don't think about the toll that being broke or being poor puts on us, but the poor is not an actual real place. It's not a real thing because there's no dollar amount that shifts you from poor to wealthy. There's a thinking that shifts you. There's a feeling that shifts you. Once you shift the way you feel, right, the field around you shifts, the world shifts. Because if you are emotional in this world, you're not going to be doing good. If you feel bad, you're not going to be doing good. If your mentality is not in the right place, you're not going to be doing good. You understand me? So it don't matter how much knowledge you get. That's why we always teach the mentality inside this. One of the first things you learn in Infinite Wealth Strategies is learning how to learn. Because you know the stress that comes from trying to grasp new information and it not sticking, and you just didn't spend hours trying to learn something. And you're like, why the hell I can't get this? But I understand that the system has messed up our minds so they know that they can give us information, but we don't understand what it means. So we teach learning how to learn because I understand our people. I understand the world that we live in the times that we in, that your mind has to be in a place of abundance before anything else shifts in your reality. That goes to physical, that goes to the way that you eat, that goes to the way you feel. Because remember, you can have a goal, but the universe responds to your frequency. The universe don't give a damn about your goal. Today, you can say, man, I got rich goals, but if you got poor habits, you're going to remain poor. The universe responds to your frequency. So you have to have an infinite mindset. And in the infinite mindset, you can then develop infinite wealth, but you can't develop infinite wealth because of a hope and a prayer. You develop infinite wealth through a strategy. It's pray, then do, not just pray. And there's too many people that just out here praying, and that's why the world praying on you. What's your strategy in life? So when you wake up and you say, man, I got my strategy, I got my thesis, this is how I'm going to operate, that's when you start to win. So you want to know the difference of why other people have their abundance? They're not smarter than you. It's not something they just better than you. It ain't that. They shifted the way they feel about themselves. They shifted the way they feel about the world, and they developed a strategy and they stuck to it. So if 20%, of our, they say, you got epigenetics, right? Then you got genetics. So you got the epigenetics, you're talking about the environment and the effects that it has on our body. So some of our environment, right, is controlled, or some of our body is controlled by our environment. Then some of our genetics controls the rest of it based on our information. So I say, wait a minute. Some people get sick because it's in their family, some people. And then some people get sick because it's in their environment. Well, some people get rich because it's in their family. And some people get rich because it's in their environment. So when you have the right community, right, of people that's speaking upon wealth, that have optimism about the future instead of that's pessimistic, so they're not poisoning the way you feel. And when you feel bad about something, then that's when you send out a signal that say, keep away from me. When you don't like somebody, you're not bringing them closer to you. I don't like that person. So you want to see them more? No. So when you feel negative about the world, you feel negative about money, you feel negative about crypto, it's really your lack of understanding. Because once you understand something, it becomes neutral, or you fall in love with it. You don't hate things you understand. You can't tell me nothing that you understand very well that you hate. Because once you understand something, it becomes a logic instead of an emotion. And you get it. There's no feelings left. It's just logic. There's no room for emotions when you have a master logic. So understanding the system, understanding the world shifts, understanding where the world goes prepares me with a master mind. So I ain't got to be emotional about the world. I ain't got to be emotional about my energy, emotional about the system, because I understand them. So I said, okay, I get it. So people are like, Joaquin, why you been teaching these things? Why you been teaching the world about this technology and the shifts and economies and all these things? Because I've been wanting to develop understanding, and I need our people to understand, because I've been around multiple shifts. And unfortunately, throughout those shifts and throughout that time, we haven't been able to take advantage of it. Right? If we was able to take advantage of these shifts that have happened, we would be successful and we would be blessed. We wouldn't complain about nothing that's going on in the world. They want your mind stuck in these algorithms and these computers so that you can't see nothing that's going on around you. I'll be honest, man, if I got on here every time there was something happening that I wanted to talk about, I'll be abroad. I'll be like a goddamn aunties that just sit in the wheelchair. Sit in the nail salon or the church ladies. That's what the internet done made us all look gossiping church ladies. What's the next piece of information that we can just talk about? What's the high level conversation that we can have to build? Tired of seeing men just become gossip suckers. Ain't building nothing, ain't talking about no building. And then when you try to talk about, oh, you trying to kick knowledge, or you dropping on, you want to go deep. Yes, we want to go deep. Yes, we want to get to the root of the system. Yes, we want freedom. Yes, we want power. Yes, we want wealth. Damn it. You don't want the same thing for yourself and your family? Unfortunately, we've been cursed. Not cursed because of skin. Not cursed because of none of that. It's cursed because we have a bad mentality of belief. We don't know that we have a God power in us. But the problem is we so busy trying to be in God's image. And yeah, we look like God. I ain't gonna lie, we look good. But are we God-like? Are we good like God? Because God ain't no procrastinator. How you say you worship God and you don't act like him? God says be and it is. That means he gets things done immediately. His mind ain't waiting. God ain't fearful. He ain't afraid of nothing. He continues to move forward. God has multiple creations. If you take on the traits of God, the attributes of God, you become God-like. But we've been focused on being in God's image. We just want to look good. So in the culture, we talk about being in God's image so much. Look at us, we melanated people of the sun. We look good. But look at you internally. What are your attributes? Do you have the discipline and the focus and the wherewithal, right, to be like God in the righteousness? God is God is abundance. How can you be poor and be God? I'm not saying poor as in the money and the finances. I'm talking about poor in the mind where you don't have the belief that you can. Because when something is poor, it is lacking. But when you have resources and substance and you have an infinite mindset, you can never be poor. You take a man that has billions and millions, or the most intelligent man in the world, how long do you think they will be poor? How long do you think they will be broke? Not very long. You got just think about it. Think about the smartest person in the world. This is person, and then somebody took away all their wealth. You don't worry about them, they'd be good. Why? Because their frequency is wealth. It's impossible for them to stay poor. Impossible. Because their moves and their frequency of what they do will add up to wealth. Because they have the value. Man, you can take the wealth from a wealthy man, but you can't take the wealthy out of that man. Go ahead, take the money. I still hold the wealth because I have the value, I have the knowledge, I have the ability to attract things in abundance. And by attract, I am talking about flourishing and thriving and working. I'm not talking about just sitting and waiting for things to come to you. No, that requires motion, that requires activity, that requires some level of friction, right? Which is heat in order for things to be birthed, electrical activity. If your brain is not thinking, you're not working. We think of working, oh, I got to get my body going. No, you have to get to thinking. And when you have a good thought, sometimes you can trade in a good thought for money. You can consult somebody when you got that kind of value because you've developed your mind to be of value. If you had all the secrets in the world, people would give you all of the money in the world for them. If you have knowledge in the subject and the substance, people will give you all that little filthy, dirty dollars for them. And say, here, take my money, please, because you have a value that I need that exceeds the dollar. And this dollar, as this $1 bill with these ugly men on it, is not preserving the value that you can utilize to get an exchange of an asset that's going to have a higher return. So you say, wait a minute, let me go learn something so I can exchange what I know. Whether that's a service, whether that's an asset, whether that's a skill set. That's the save yourself blueprint that we're going to be breaking down. How do you save yourself? How does a people go from being lost in the wilderness trying to find their way to having standards and operations and habits and frameworks that allow them to build successfully no matter what's going on in the world? How do you do that? How do you save yourself no matter where you are in position in life? They say, you know what? Based on the way that I move, I'm going to be good. But I realize that motion is required. Sometimes we be staying in our same city, same state, same street. You got to move around this world. I moved around this whole planet. There's some places that I went through that I grabbed experience and value from that I couldn't got in my living room. I couldn't have got in my social circle. There's certain downloads I got in Mexico and Africa, right? In London and France and Egypt at the pyramid. I wouldn't have got that standing still. I had to get in motion. So I see way too many of us that's not in motion. So for me, when you're a part of that infinite wealth club, when you're a part of that infinite wealth strategies, man, that's the people that's in motion. I wasn't even expecting to do that, but I just feel the energy and I want y'all to tap in because after the holidays, the price is going back up to 1,000. It's going to be worth it regardless. And you never think about price. You got to think about value. What is the value of something is everything you should think about. What's the value of learning and being in position? What's the value of being a part of a community? What's the value of being prepared? What's the value of having peace? What's the value of having confidence, right? What's the value of owning your own time? What's the value of being able to travel and move throughout this world? What's the value of saying, you know what? I didn't prepare myself at the beginning of the year or the first time I heard about the shifts in the world. I didn't prepare myself on how to develop myself for AI. And I didn't prepare myself for the crypto and the blockchain and all these things. But damn it, I'm not going to let more time go past and not understand the signs that's in front of me that tell me that the time is now for me to build wealth. The time is now for me to consider my financial future, to consider my children's future. Because sitting on these things is sitting on their future, saying that, you know what, I ain't worried about their future. I ain't even tripping. You know what, I forget about them. That's what I hear people say all the time. Not with their words, but with their actions. How you don't care about how your children live. Because a lot of this future as it goes is going to be your last time being able, right? You got the rest of the world. I ain't gonna lie. If you white, you probably got 6 years. If you Asian, you probably got 6 years. If you brown, you probably got 4 years. If you black, you got 3. Now, how do we do that? It's based on asset accumulation. White people got about 100 years of assets in between us. So if they got 6 years, then we got to cut that down in half. The Asian community, highest grossing net worth, right? In America. So they up there with white folks. They have higher based on the numbers than even white. So they got about 6 years as this financial world shifts. Brown community, they put out a report that said by 2053, black household wealth will be at 0. Now, why did they say that? Because they said that we would not own any assets. Then they said by 2000, 73, the Brown household will be down as well. Why did they say that? Because of the asset gap. So what am I saying? As we're going into a new world, this Aquarian age with new currencies, we don't just learn this high level information and just be stuck in a star somewhere pondering galaxies. No, I'm just trying to get people to understand what time it is. We talking about numbers because you understand what time it is. When you look at a clock, you're looking at numbers, and what it do, it tells you what time it is. So as the world shifts, it lets you know what time it is. And a good idea has to be on time. It's the right time equals success. The right move at the right time equals success. So you have to ask yourself, what's the right move to make right now? So calculating and looking at saying, God damn, our diagnosis, our financial diagnosis is not the same. We got to hurry up and get in goddamn place. We ain't got time to be playing. We ain't got time to be goddamn gossiping and worrying about what everybody else got. We have to strap in. There's a lot of things you got to get rid of. You got to decrease your spending in other areas and say, you know what? I'm going to shift my energy because spending is energy. Whether you're spending time or money, I'm going to shift my energy to say, you know what? I'm not going to this club. I'm not going out there with y'all. I'm not spending on this, drink this, smoke this, game, this thing. I'm going to shift my energy over into some assets. And even if you're starting off small, right? Think about how ahead you will be of everybody else around you because they're not starting at all. You would know if the shift came. You go to the barbershop and that's all they be talking about. So that's how you know if you're too late. You go to the barbershop and they tell me, man, I just made $100 million off this little shit coin. They ain't having them conversations. They talking about Pat Pussy and Remy. You know what I'm saying? They talking about the little Heisman winner and his girlfriend. They ain't having these conversations. That lets you know we ain't there yet. When the world is talking about it and everybody in it, then it might be too late. So in a couple of years, when everybody talking about, I finally got in, well, you too late. Bitcoin is at $1 million, and they like, I can't believe it's worth $1 million. I could have put in $500, and it would have been worth this much. I can't believe XRP is at $20. I can't believe XLM is up. I can't believe these AI cryptos is up, and these gaming ones. Damn, why nobody told me? So this is your sign because I want it to be documented that what's today's date, the 24th? My gift to you. So you can say, damn, I was there. And now you get to decide whether you listened or you decide to ignore. But I can say I've done my part. So I want to welcome all of the new students in Infinite Wealth Strategies, all those who just applied, right? We're going to be doing a live that will only be for Infinite Wealth Strategy students, right? You get to ask your questions. We also do growth calls, and in those growth calls, I've decided to allow Infinite Wealth Strategy students in some of those growth calls. We also have our high level club, which is a monthly thing that we do. But every time I do something, I always like to give more value and more value, right? So we always have a lot of these bonus things, bonus ebooks, right? We're going to be focused on community, in-person events, things of that nature. I'm going full community for 2025. So you lock in with me, I lock in with you. Give us the grace, give us the space. Never spend your last. If you spend your last, you don't have infinite, right? We don't want people that's coming in poor. We want people that's coming in abundant. So if that's you, please stay away, right? There's a criteria for the type of person that we're looking to be around. That is not people that operate right in this mindset to where they get stuck on things. They don't know what to do. We teach in a manner that keeps people fluid and flowing, right? Tuesdays are the growth calls days. Right. So typically I talk to the students today. It was not a growth call because we're having a holiday, which is why we did this call today. Right. But typically a lot of these things would be closed off to the public. Right. Because we focus on giving extreme value. but it's about taking action. It's not about just sitting there. No, we want people to take action, because this time next year, we're going to be having everybody talking about some, yo, man, I just made this. I just did this. I just bought a house. I bought my mama a car. I'm on vacation. I'm doing like, we talk about real results, right? We have what we call our trophy room, and that's where people put their wins. So you can see people winning incrementally throughout time, which is another positive factor that motivates you to keep going on your journey, so you can drop a win in there. Small wins, big wins. We focusing on those wins. There's a story we tell about the Garcia room. We have a book club as well, so you can follow along with the book club. Believe me, there's a lot of value by being a part of the community and going into 2025 with me and the team and the community. Don't go into this world by yourself. Go in there with the right team and the right tribe. And I'll see you all February 7th. I'll see you all in the Infinite Wealth Strategies. We have our own private chat, right? So that you'll get access to that. And then you'll also get access to my close friends on Instagram, because some information I'll be dropping there much faster than I might put it in the chat, right? So for all the Infinite Wealth Strategy students, make sure, I want to make a post to make sure that you put your Instagram @name, right? And then I'm going to be adding you to my Instagram close friends so that you can get access to the information much quicker, right? Because then it may be a signal, it may be something that I want to show that I don't feel like writing down. Therefore, you got it on Instagram and you can act on it much faster. So peace and blessings to the family. I look forward to building a massive amount of wealth. I look forward to us winning all 2025 as we go into this 9th year, and as we give birth to new opportunities. We stop being stuck, we start being in flow, and we start unleashing that world, and we start to live in a transformative way to where we can see ourselves with power, right? We can see ourselves with that freedom that we want. We can see ourselves more confident. Oh, bonus, I ain't even talk about this for high level club members. We have the communication class that will be coming up, right? So I've been focused on, how can I not have this long overdrawn class? I'm focused on putting together these frameworks so you can get results within 30 days to improve your communication, right? Communication is the #1 skill set in the world. It is connected to sales. It is connected to marketing. It's connected to your confidence, right? Your ability to speak. It improves your relationships. It improves your opportunities in the world. And it allows you to be a better person as you go throughout the world. So I will be teaching a master communication class, right? That will only be available inside the community. So make sure you join High Level Club, Infinite Wealth Strategies. I'll see you all in 2025. Let's evolve. Peace to the gods. Yeah. I'm excited about that one, as you can see. Y'all have a blessed one. Enjoy your holiday. Spend time with the family. You know what I'm saying? Save yourself through your actions, your habits, your frameworks, and your strategies.